Ice advantage as far as they go this time. Forsberg, what a move, he scores!
Many of the players have been humiliated with weird background stories like Chris Nealon was caught stealing a swimsuit or Winnipeg was caught drunk while driving in a motorboat. So let's hop into the video and know more about it. PK Subban was humiliated in debut. Demon defender PK Subban displayed immense courage right after the final whistle of his first NHL game, challenging one of the toughest and most ruthless players in history. Or maybe it was a cause of naive stupidity as he ran into Philadelphia Flyers defender Chris Pronger during post-match practice, earned a 6'6" Hall of Famer, and declared, "I'm not afraid in your presence." It was the wrong person to fight, and Subban was lucky he didn't get a stick in his ribs or a glove in his eye. Pronger's response to Subban was a non-physical insult. Subban faced Philly again the following night in Montreal, collecting another assist in another Canadiens loss, but this time smart enough to get away from Pronger. It was just 2 NHL Subban games in 2009-10, but his career began the following year when he became one of the league's top rookies, scoring 14 goals and 38 points in 77 games for the Habs. Boston Bruins humiliated. The Boston Bruins kicked off the post-Tuukka Rask era with another humiliating loss to the Carolina Hurricanes on Thursday. The Bruins lost 6-0, and despite missing 2 of their best players in Brad Marchand and captain Patrice Bergeron, head coach Bruce Cassidy was in no mood for excuses. Speaking of Rask, what is his legacy in Boston Bruins history? The Montreal Canadiens introduced the media and their fans to new interim coach Martin St. Louis. For the second day in a row, another NHL head coach crossed the board, this time Edmonton Oilers head coach Dave Tippett. The Boston Bruins have now won 16-1 in 3 games against the Carolina Hurricanes and are damned if they equalize with the Canes in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Blue Jackets embarrassed. Jonathan Huberdeau slotted home the Blue Jackets to give the Florida Panthers a 5-0 lead at the FLA Live Arena, and the home fans called for 5 more goals before the final whistle. The Panthers had nearly 40 minutes to play and came close to doing so in a 9-2 game with just 2 days after the Blue Jackets pulled off a shock 6-0 close against powerhouse Carolina Hurricanes in Raleigh. "We should be ashamed, period," said Blue Jackets coach Brad Larson, who previously praised his team's performance against the Hurricanes. "There's nothing more to say about that. I mean, after a game where we played a pretty solid game, all 60 high-level competition." The Jackets' increased intensity was also seen in the final at 9.46 after the Panthers took a 9-1 lead through Ryan Lomberg's goal. They started looking for a 10th to please their fans, and the Jackets tried to stop it, starting with captain Boone Jenner, who scored the last goal of the game for former teammate Sergei Bobrovsky 36 seconds later. The Blue Jackets avoided the humiliation of seeing a 10 on the scoreboard, but couldn't silence the fans who were crying for it. They have suffered some serious losses over the last few seasons, but nothing comes close to what rings in their ears. Patrick Roy was embarrassed. The Montreal Canadiens appear to be leading the NHL in a patient revenge plot. The offensive boom came exactly 22 years after the Red Wings' 11-1 loss to the Canadiens on the 2nd of December 1995. That game was Patrick Roy's last in the Habs shirt, when then-coach Mario Tremblay finally let Roy go after netting 9 goals against him. Roy sat on the bench and demanded a swap. 3 days later, Roy was sent to the Colorado Avalanche, where he won the Stanley Cup that same season. An impressive 14 Canadian players put their names on their score sheet, and 7 of those players had a multi-point night. Paul Byron is the only Habs player to score more than once, scoring the first NHL hat-trick of his career. Montreal wasn't perfect, however, as Carey Price narrowly missed out. It was the 5th straight win in Montreal as the team continued to climb the ladder following Price's return on November 25th. What does this all mean for the Montreal franchise, who needed 6 games earlier this season to equal the 10 goals he scored in one night? Winnipeg got arrested. Defense attorneys for the Winnipeg Jets were arrested on August 31st for drunk driving on a motorboat in Lake Minnetonka, Minnesota, according to the Minneapolis Star-Tribune. The arrest itself wasn't even the most embarrassing part. It was the fact that his weight was reported at 286 pounds, which is 40 pounds more than his final season weight. Chris Nealon embarrassed. Retired NHL official Chris Nealon, who spent a 13-year career with the Canadiens, Rangers, and Bruins, was arrested on July 15, 2009 for shoplifting. Yes, Nealon, who has made millions from his hockey career, was arrested at a Boston mall for trying to steal a swimsuit. She reportedly entered the Lord and Taylor locker room with 3 pairs of swimming shorts, and when she came out of the dressing room, only 2 came back. The security guard followed Nealon out of the shop, and when they confronted him about the shorts, he attempted to hit one of the guards. After being arrested by security officers and later by the police, it was revealed that she was wearing a stolen Tommy Bahama swimsuit under the shorts she was in. Durbano got embarrassed. Durbano, then living on a welfare and a $3,000 a month hockey pension, became involved in an undercover operation after a blonde police officer responded to one of his advertisements for his accompaniment services. He met Durbano at the Tim Hortons donut shop, where he checked the prices of various actions and gave them code names. A few days later, he was accused of trying to find prostitutes and turn himself in. It's Kevin Stevens' return. Kevin Stevens, who was named to 3 All-Star teams during his career, was arrested on January 23, 2000, after he was found with a prostitute and cocaine in a motel room in Collinsville, Illinois, according to the New York Times. Stevens, then a Ranger, celebrated a 4-1 win over St. Louis that night by taking a prostitute and buying and using $500 worth of crack. At the time of this incident, he was already married with 2 children and a third was on his way. PK Subban again humiliated. The ECHL suspended Jacob Panetta on Sunday after Jordan Subban, brother of NHL star PK Subban, accused Jacksonville lawyers of making monkey moves on him. The league said the indefinite suspension was still awaiting trial under collective bargaining agreements with its players. Then Jacksonville announced that they had to decide to trim the Panetta. The incident involving Panetta and Jordan Subban, which came 23 seconds into extra time in Ice's 1-0 home win over South Carolina on Saturday, follows minor league pitcher Christoph Hrabek's 30-game suspension for racial slurs during an NHL game earlier this month. A video posted by PK Subban on Twitter showed Panetta posing as a monkey while Jordan Subban was led away by an officer. Jordan Subban, who is black, then slides back into the Panetta, and the two look onto each other at the start of the multiplayer battle. Chris Pronger. Chris Pronger is a great defender and is not afraid to play with anyone. Well, that's what we thought. He joined the St. Louis Blues in 1995 and remained with the organization until 2005 when he joined the Oilers. During his last 6 seasons with the team, Pronger captained the Blues and was a respected leader on the ice. But he also played the legends who destroyed him, and one of them was Mario Lemieux. On the podcast That's Hockey Talk, he talks about a special encounter with Mario Lemieux. He didn't specify what season the game was in, but one thing's for sure, he was beaten to remember. Nazem Kadri humiliated. Nazem Kadri spoke to the media for the first time since being suspended for 2 more games by Toronto Maple Leafs hockey operation president Brendan Shanahan. The 24-year-old center vowed to learn from the ordeal in hopes to live up to expectations. The suspension was made after Kadri missed a team meeting due to being late for training on Sunday. Head coach Peter Horacek put Kadri on for the team's next game, and the club then took charge of 2 extra games. Shanahan decided to publicly announce Kadri's sentence instead of dealing with it internally. He stated that he felt the team couldn't sweep the problem under the carpet. Shanahan also noted that Kadri had other issues in the past that questioned his professionalism. John Tortorella regrets the embarrassment. John Tortorella laments the embarrassment he inflicted on the New York Rangers by spilling liquid and throwing plastic water bottles into the crowd during Washington's playoff defeat. Until Wednesday, when Tortorella conducted exit interviews with the players following a disappointing 7-match suspension from the Capitals, the flamboyant Rangers coach refused to go into details of the events that led to his 1-match NHL suspension. At 6:33 a.m. the third period on Friday's 4-0 loss in Game 5, Tortorella was involved in a verbal confrontation with a fan. A video playback shows the coach lifting a water bottle into the crowd. Tortorella then grabbed Aaron Tvoro's front wand and lifted it, swinging it toward the fan. So which humiliation, according to you, was the worst? Do comment your thoughts in the section below.